Hello and good evening, and welcome to another edition of Pinoyathletics Track Talk. It's actually nearly 11 o'clock here in Australia, Sydney. The 8 o'clock in the Philippines. It's a scorching hot summer at the moment. That's why I'm wearing a singlet. It's actually, it got to 33, 34 degrees today, and currently it's still really hot here. It's still 24 degrees, which may not seem hot in the Philippines, but that's scorching dry heat here with no humidity in Australia. All right, 7 viewers, cool. So tonight we're mainly going to discuss some more results from the Vietnam Open, some open discussions that have been happening on our Facebook group, our Facebook page, our website, and also we're hoping to have former national coach Saturnino Salazar giving his input in regards to how race walking is going in the Philippines and what needs to be done, and some evaluations of some very good results from Vietnam and the 20-kilometer race walk earlier today. So initially I was covering on Tuesday, I covered the performances of Nia of Vietnam, who ran an official new national record of 10:40. And also Liu Chin, who ran 11.43 in the 100 at the Vietnamese Nationals. Initially, I was going to cover some more stuff on training and that sort of stuff, but I've just maximized the use of time of these Vietnamese nationals because it's really pouring in the traffic and the viewership from our Vietnamese readers, and also we've started actually posting some web pages in Vietnamese, which is increasing the traffic flow to the site. Okay, Coach Titus has arrived. I've just got him on wait at the moment, but we will greet him shortly. I'm just quickly going to go through some of this presentation. I'll just go into the share screen. And then I will bring in Coach Titus. This is a little bit messy, this thing. Full screen. Share that one. Okay. So welcome to Pinoy Athletics Track Thursday. So now what I'm talking about is maximizing the use of traffic. So now there's a major event on in Vietnam, which is the Vietnamese national trials for the SEA Games. There's no athletic events really going on at all in the Philippines. I mean, pretty much 2020 is a write-off. There have been really no athletic competitions at all, no performances. So now we need to maximize what's fresh and what's going on right now, which is the Vietnamese national trials, which is basically an opportunity for us to increase our Vietnamese viewership. So our objective this month is to go past our viewership record of 38,415 set 2 months ago in September. I love these numbers. And we're trying to get to 40,000 visitors or more for 2020 by utilizing not just the Filipino athletic community, but other athletic communities. And we've been getting very good feedback from our Vietnamese visitors. We've been featuring and helping them out and driving traffic to them as well. And, it's been good, we've been getting so much positive feedback regarding promoting, Southeast Asian athletics, not just Philippine athletics, but keeping an open mind and letting the public know what's going on in the other Southeast Asian countries, as we're competing against these guys in the SEA Games. So far I've had 17,743 total visitors for the month. I need an average of 11:48 a day to exceed the previous record. I'm sitting on about 1,500, today. So the more I go over that average, the less work I'm going to have to do to, get over that record and hopefully get to that 40,000 mark. All right. So while he's here, we will introduce Coach Salazar. I'll just send a message. So we have 10 viewers at the moment, so it's all good. The momentum's growing for this evening. All right, so the first thing is I'll start off with the news that an ACT junior broke. This is yet another world age grade record. Firstly, it was Mia Galergan, with the two Alongo parents breaking the 11-year-old 5,000 meter world age grade record, and now Hayden Todd has clocked 225.70 in Australia. He's from Canberra. He broke the Australian and world best age marks for under 16,000 meters. This article, if you want to read more about it, it's up on Runners Tribe. So we didn't create our own article. We just basically are pushing traffic towards Runners Tribe. So it was a wet and windy day at the Woden Athletics track in Canberra. Todd erased almost half a century of history when he crossed the line at 1,000 meters in 225.70. Just 15 years of age, he'd taken down a record which had stood for 46 years, and doing so catapulted himself onto the world stage. He now stands as both the fastest under 16 in Australia and indeed world history. So there was, we might come back to this one later. So there was an argument, which is up on YouTube, between Senators Pekatano and Reza Ontiveros regarding the 9.5 billion spending on the Southeast Asian Games, with Pia on the defensive regarding the allocation of funds. I won't go into that too much because I've got a lot to cover, but that's available on YouTube if you want to watch the full-blown, 20-minute video. All right, now, Vietnamese Open updates. So I believe that this performance by Owen Nguyen of 4:13.88 in the women's 1,500 meters on the second day of the Vietnamese National Championships is the best performance by a female athlete at this meet so far. So she is the SEA Games champion in the 1,500, the 3,000 steeples, and the 5,000 meters at the last SEA Games. She's the only athlete, male or female, in athletics, as far as I know, in the last SEA Games to win 3 individual gold medals in the same SEA Games. So her time of 4:13.88 was 3.5 seconds faster than her time of 4:17.31 at the last SEA Games. It's 4 seconds off the Vietnamese record, which was set by Trong Tung Hung at the 2018 Asian Games in Guangzhou, where she collected the silver medal. The other two Vietnamese SEA Games bronze medalists, An took silver in 4:26.77, and Bui Thi Nguyen, the ASEAN School Games 2018 and 2019 champion, the 8 and 1/5, took 4:28.38, smashing a personal best of 4:33.62. Now, in retrospect, in the last couple of years, the Philippine local runners, they've been almost half a second off, that time of the SEA Games champion. So we're going to address further in the later segment, what the issue is with women's middle distance running in the Philippines, as there doesn't seem to be a huge load of progression in these events in terms of what the statistics are telling us over the last 3-5 years. It's been quite a downslide in terms of women's middle distance. Perhaps we'll even ask Coach Titus regarding, what he thinks about the situation of women's middle distance. Anyway, Nguyen Thi On, she's the SEA Games champion, the 15, 3 steeples and 5,000. She won the 5,000 on the first day in 16:58, which was the Southeast Asian leading time, but it's still 13 seconds slower than her SEA Games gold and 38 seconds slower than her PB. from 2018. She's also, so she's doing 3 events in this. So tomorrow, I believe she's doing the steeplechase. So she had a break because of the walks. Anyhow, moving on to the next slide. So yeah, so regarding the SEA Games, Letu Chin ran 11:43 on the first day in the 100. She's got the 200 tomorrow or the next day. SEA Games champion, the 100 meters. It can be very difficult, challenge defending her title against Christina Knott, who was right behind her in the last SEA Games. Knott, of course, improving to 11:27. So Chin, if she's going to even be in contention, needs to really, get down into those 11:30s early next year in order to stay in the hunt to defend her title that she'd won for the last 2 SEA Games. And we did have a response in regards to Chin from one of the world's greatest track and field coaches, Lauren Seagrave. He said, a lovely and talented athlete with a very sharp and caring coach who herself was a top sprinter. Thanks for including the rotund photo, which meant he was slightly overweight in the photo of when I visited in Ho Chi Minh City. So yeah, Lauren Seagrave worked a lot with mentoring, the coach of Chin, Wang Nguyen. So not really taking the athlete, but like helping the coach improve and become a better coach. And we've been having some very interesting conversations on LinkedIn. It's good to see like a really top-notch coach like Lauren Seagrave, is a regular reader of our articles and posting some very, positive comments and feedback and very useful feedbacks that come from a wealth of knowledge, who's been coaching for the best part of 30, 40 years. And, he's been to about 50, 60, he's coaching 50, 60 different countries. He was coaching and he really was one of the driving forces behind leveling up Vietnamese athletics. And now he's currently working with Thailand. I just replied, yeah, I interviewed Chin and her coach a few months back. I had no idea Huang was a top sprinter. What did she run? Short sprints or 400? And as I said, he played a huge role leveling up Vietnamese athletics and mentoring Huang. I asked if he worked with Not Nia in the men's sprints as he just ran 10:40. And after this, actually, I would like to interview, and I've been talking with Nguyen Nguyen, the girl I just featured before. I'd like to interview her after, these games, of course, which is something, that we'll be looking forward to. All right, so now I'll bring on Coach Titus. Coach, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, Coach.
I'm okay. Yeah. I'm safe here in Pasig.
Okay, I heard that there's a typhoon coming.
Yeah, it's passes already.
It's already started. So how is it?
Very strong rain, and it flooded all Metro Manila, and was hit by flood.
What about the area where you're in at the
Marikina.
moment? Marikina.
But at the moment, we are safe here in Pasig.
Cool. So, yeah, so how long is the typhoon expected to start, last for? Because, I mean, I've got athletes, like about 10 athletes training over in the Philippines by correspondence, and a lot of them are having the day off because the typhoon is hitting other parts of the country as well, like Mindoro, for example. Like they had to have, some of the athletes I coach had to have a day off because of these typhoons. I believe this is the 3rd typhoon in the last month.
5th typhoon.
5th typhoon in the last month. So I was also
in a
reading
couple of 1 week.
I was also reading something before about precautions about exposure, because since Manila is so polluted, if it floods and you've got an open cut or a wound or something, and then the water sort of gets into the wound, then you need to go and get some medication or something, because the water's really polluted as well when it floods.
Yeah.
I can remember as a student when I used to live in Pasai, and we used to get lots of really bad flood in there, and I was in a two-storied house, a two-storied apartment, and what happened was I remember the ground floor just flooded, and like all my assignments and homework was sort of floating around like on top of wood on the ground floor because it just flooded. Honestly, it went up to the height of my waist on the ground floor, so I had to go upstairs, and the ground floor was flooded.
That's the situation here in Metro Manila.
Yeah, so like I guess you've got to watch out for things like leptospirosis and other things that other sort of harmful, diseases and bacteria that's floating around in that really dirty, flooded water, right?
Um, it's worse because there's a lot of rats.
Yeah, yeah. Anyhow, how's the coaching situation going with athletes there? Because I mean, because of COVID, obviously there's a lot of around COVID and
Yeah,
typhoon, a lot of restrictions in place.
me and Alana were training around Capitolio and near Ultra, the Capitol Commons. So we didn't
Yep.
have any choice because most of the track oval here in CR are closed.
Mm. You know, an athlete was talking to me the other day. They were asking for a training program, and they said to me they're going to go and train at UMAC. So I said, "Oh, all right." Like I said, "Have you already got permission to use UMAC?" And they said, I'll go and see." And I said, "Well, good luck with that." So sure as they weren't, their recommendation to use UMAC was not approved. So and I doubted it was going to be improved anyway, but like it was worth a try. I mean, I've got athletes training like that are able to use track ovals in the provinces. I have athletes that have to train on the road. Some are using dirt tracks. It really depends on the situation. And then some are just totally at home workouts where they can't even go outside to use the road because of the lockdown. So there's track ovals, field ovals, training on road, and not being allowed to even go outside. So just having to do but a specific home workout which involves stuff that's going to be more specific for your event, not just a general, home workout, like, what some of these other people are giving, which are just basic public sort of stuff, which isn't really going to be specific for your event. I mean, there's a lot of that going on, a lot of that going around at the moment with regards to training. Anyhow, I'd like to know firstly, because I brought up, um, my first topic was in regards to Vietnam, and like this was more on middle distance, but the girl from Vietnam, she just ran 4:13 in the 1500 meters. She's the SEA Games champion. And, like our women in the Philippines, for the last 3 or 5 years, the middle distance has been a gradual decline. And, like there's nobody, I think, who's been within 30 seconds of, they're nearly 50 seconds behind 4 minutes 13 in the 1500. There's nobody running under 450.
Yeah, because of the system here in the Philippines. You know that athlete in like in Palarong Pambansa when
Yeah,
they uh, when they got the year round no year round training.
yep, yep.
It's only once a year, and after winning the regional championship, no follow up, no high level training, no
I
selection.
think that we could say that the athletes that have performed well in the Palarong Pambansa in the women's and the girls' middle distance have been fortunate enough that when they went to the Palarong Pambamsa, their coach that coached them personally was also the winning coach. So they were able to perform outstandingly at the Palarong Pambamsa. But when we go past the Palarong Pambamsa level, there's where the disconnect is. I mean, theoretically, a massive amount of the women or the girls are actually running slower in college than they ran when they were at high school, which is, like to some extent, you can blame studies and, like time management and, other commitments to some extent, but the excuses are really being overused to the point where, how come it's only the Philippines? We just lost connection there, but we should be back shortly with Coach Titus. In the meantime, I'll just cover some more slides that I was discussing. So we'll come back to the race walk stuff later because obviously, like there will be more to discuss with Coach Titus. So yeah, so what I'm pointing out was with Coach Titus, and as part of our discussion, is the athletes having the right to choose their own coach, like which is at all levels really. But we did it. The discussion with regards to Vietnam did bring this up because in Vietnam, the athletes have more freedom over who they want to work with. Hence, for example, Chin, who I brought up before, who's the SEA Games champion in the 100-meter dash, she's been with the same coach, Huang Nguyen, who happens to be a high school teacher, since she was 9 or 10 years old. The same coach has guided her. In fact, Lawrence Seagrave came in and he helped Huang with Chin become a better coach, but at no stage did Lawrence say, "Oh, I'm the coach now, so you basically kind of like, thank you very much, but this is my athlete now." Nah, he helped the coach, even like, they even accommodated Huang over at IMG in Florida so she could learn from them how to be a better coach and how to coach Chin better. Chin is pretty much, like from my interview, is pretty much like, she's like pretty much like Chin's foster mum as well as her coach. So Chin's only ever been handled by the one coach, and she's led Chin from being a, like a skinny 9 or 10 year old kid to becoming a Southeast Asian Games champion. Her athletics association has allowed her to be there from the start to the end. When Chin got into the national team, Hindina, like, Tapos, the coach, like, they allowed Chin to continue training the athlete. Sorry, Huang to continue training the athlete. Sorry, I'll just repeat what I said before, what I was just saying then, Coach. I was talking about the Vietnamese because when I posted up about Huang, there was a massive discussion on Pinoy Athletics regarding athletes' rights to choose who they want to be their coach. Looking at the Vietnamese system, let's look at Vietnam. In the last couple of SEA Games, they've gotten 16, 17 gold medals without even being the host. I believe part reason to this huge success is their athletics association's acceptance that the athletes work best with coaches that they want to work with. So now, for example, like look at the example of Chin, the SEA Games 100-meter champion. She's worked with the same coach since she was 9 or 10 years old. The American coach Lawrence Seagrave came in and helped Huang become a better coach. She even took him over to let Huang come over to the US to observe how they use their coaching methods at IMG Academy in Florida, and helped Huang become a better coach. At no stage did Lawrence Seagrave say to Huang, "I'm the coach now, so yeah, I'm taking the athlete." No way. He basically helped the coach become a better coach so Huang could coach the athlete better. And Huang has comfortably been with the same coach since she was 9 or 10. So Huang has led Chin from a skinny 9 or 10-year-old kid to becoming a Southeast Asian Games champion because her athletics association gave and allowed allow the opportunity for coaches to, continue working with their athletes at that higher level if the need be arises, and if that's what the athlete wants to do. And that really inspire momentum in regards to our discussions, because I believe that these are the discussions we need to have, and these discussions should not be swept under the carpet regarding the athlete's right to choose who they want to work with. I mean, if the athlete doesn't perform well, then okay, they can be removed from the team, but at least they have the freedom to choose what program they wanted to do. I mean, if you force athletes, if athletes are put on a program and then they don't improve in the national team, for example, how come it is that the athletes get removed and the coaches stay? And they're free to continue cycling in more athletes with non-improvement. In terms of, efficiency of just getting in athletes and being able to improve them. I mean, say for example, you can have, a coach who's a really good coach and an athlete that's a really good athlete. But sometimes this really good athlete and this really good coach just don't have that connection. And sometimes that connection cannot be forced. It's only there because respect is gained and earned, not given at the start. So can you hear me, Coach?
Yeah.
So that's basically what I wanted to say. I was summarizing up the discussions and the sentiments of the athletics community on Pinoy Athletics Group when we started up this conversation about athletes' rights to choose their own coach, and there was a lot of feedback in regards to
So you
views on
open up
that.
the topic of athletes' right.
Exactly. It is part of athletes' rights, being allowed to choose which coach they want to work with,
That's
to maximize efficiency.
that's why athletes should have their right where to train and when to train and what coach they prepare to.
Yep. In my view, the association should be mainly focused on, the performance. If the athlete goes to a coach and they perform well, then what's wrong with that? Just because it's not one of the association's coaches. If the athlete chooses to go to a coach and performs well, I don't see what's wrong with that. If the athlete doesn't perform well with a non-association coach or whatever, then just remove them from the team. That's basically as simple as that. If
Yeah.
an athlete decides to go to a coach, that's their risk, that's their choice, that's their risk. That's basically something that they will have control of. But if you put the athlete with a coach and then they don't really want to work with that coach, then what options do they have? Work with the coach or leave the team? Then we lose athletes, basically, if we have it that way.
Because here in the Philippines, there's a monopoly of talent here. You know that?
What do
That
you mean
they
by a monopoly of? Let's talk more about this monopoly of talent.
it is not open for all.
So yeah, so with monopoly of talent, meaning to say that, okay, so monopoly of talent means that certain coaches are able to have more chance of getting more athletes.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, I can see that. Yeah.
The uh, academy.
Which academy?
That they pass in Senate.
Again, which academy are we referring to? Because there's a few, and
National Sports Academy.
the National Academy of Sports.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
National Academy of Sports.
So this National Academy of Sports, we know at this point that
Grassroots out.
yeah. So now that what this National Academy of Sports means that now the provinces have to compete with the National Academy of Sports as well as the NCR schools trying to get the athletes.
So what happened to the provinces?
Yeah, that's my point. Is that by getting a National Academy of Sport, that means that now all these grassroots coaches in the provinces have to compete not just with the NCR coaches who are taking, who are recruiting athletes at a younger and younger age. Like before, imagine before they're recruiting athletes maybe when they get to college. Now they can't wait for them to get to college. They recruit them at high school level, senior high school level, younger high school level. Pretty soon, if they haven't already, they'll be recruiting elementary age kids from the provinces, then just waiting for them to sort of mature before they get them. So now the province coaches not only have the NCR coaches to compete with the recruitment of athletes from them, now they've got the National Academy of Sport recruiting their athletes as well. So if you're a grassroots coach and you don't even get to work with your athletes, imagine this. If you're a grassroots coach in the province and your athletes are getting recruited at college level, at least you get to work with them at high school and you get to coach them and see them develop in the Palarong Pabangsa. If, like you're a grassroots coach and your athletes are being recruited now at high school level, when do you get the opportunity and the privilege and satisfaction of seeing your athletes develop if they're going to just get recruited before you've even really had time to work with them? That's my point here, is that what motivation would there be to continue being a grassroots coach if all your top athletes just get cherry picked before you even get the opportunity to develop them and even get the time to develop yourself as a coach? Because my point is that for a grassroots coach to develop as a coach, they need to have the opportunities to work with athletes, and those opportunities are sacrificed if the athletes get recruited at a young age before the coach even gets time to develop and have the opportunity to work and develop with them. Because when a coach works with an athlete, is probably the most experience they're going to gain from coaching, more so than seminars, more so than tests and other watching YouTube videos. The hands-on approach of coaching is the way you're most going to get that experience working with athletes. And if your athletes are cherry picked before you can even get time to work with them, how do you develop as a coach? How do you get that fair chance to develop as a coach in the province if your best athletes get taken away? And how do you continue your motivation of wanting to be a coach when being a coach in the province isn't the most lucrative career that you can have, especially if you've got a family to support? It's not. It's basically almost next to no pay. So why would you be as a grassroots coach in the province if your athletes if you're having to compete with NAS and NCR for for recruitment of your athletes? Why would you want to continue as a grassroots coach after a while if that happens all the time and you can't develop your coaching skills?
So the problem here is in our national program.
Yeah, I believe so. There should be more protection against coaches, coaching athletes and basically other coaches coming in and basically saying to them, we wouldn't like to recruit you and that sort of stuff. There needs to be more protection against that, I believe. I don't feel that there's necessary protections in place for that to continue to happen. Um, So yeah, so basically just looking at the stats, like when we like I'm just using the example of women's middle distance, but there are other events we can probably use. But like the fact is that the top Vietnamese woman runs 4:13. Even the second and the third are running 4:20s. 4:20. One of their juniors is running 4:20. The best local 1500 meter runners are running 4:40 and up. So that's almost like 30 seconds behind the top Vietnamese woman, and like a good 10 or 12 seconds behind the next best Vietnamese woman. So the question is, what's happening to this middle distance program? What needs to be done? Like it's like really like a bit of an issue that in a lot of events we don't even have medal contenders. And now that we're on the topic, I'll just bring up the results on the walks from the from the Vietnamese national championships for you to have a quick look at. If you can just see the screen, I'm just going to bring up that now, like what needs to really be done in regards to the walks. So if you can see that there, this is the results from the 20K at the Vietnamese. Like this is from this morning. These are the Vietnamese women's 20-kilometer results, done on the road, of course. So these are really the only race walking times for the whole year, because no one else is actually no other countries because of COVID have had a 20-kilometer road race, like a 20-kilometer track walk yet this year. So what can you say about these performances in comparison to like so if you can see the screen there, so we've got 143, 145, 151, 154, 157. These are top 5 women from the Vietnamese national SEA Games trials this morning.
They are good. It's hard to catch up. They are now more.
You can see though, like the dates of birth though. Like I mean, that girl at the top, who's the best runner
of their government support.
But we can see here as well that the top runner here, I think she's the SEA Games champ, the one at the top. She's 30 years of age. So this is an event, road walking is an event where you can still be good into your 30s, right? Or even. So an athlete. Yep.
When I developed Melinda.
Yep.
It's really all hard work.
All hard work.
And discipline. Because during that time, I developed the girls has talent.
Okay.
So are very talented during that time, and the fact that Melinda is short.
Yep.
She's only 4'10".
So below 5 feet tall.
Less than 5 feet tall.
Below 5 feet, right?
Yeah. And what really the quality is the discipline and hard work.
Yep.
So that's our driving force.
What was Melinda's best time for the 20,000 walk?
1 hour 47 for
147. So what 147? So 147. How many years did it take you to develop Melinda to get her to that 147 prime?
So in a span of 1 year and a half.
So only 18 months. So,
Yeah.
okay. So in order to develop Melinda to 147 in 18 months, what was different then in regarding support and exposures and that sort of thing to what's different now? So my question is, when you develop Melinda, what was done better to help you develop Melinda than what's being done now?
Because during that time,
Yep.
um, the National Federation
Yep.
no support for event.
Okay. When you say support, what support in what way? Like,
Support.
I
Putting
don't
you in.
disagree with you. I just want, I'm just interested in what exactly was done better in terms of support. So by support, what exactly do you mean? Do you mean more exposures? Do you mean more funding? Do you mean?
When you're there in national team, you will receiving allowance. You're
Yep.
receiving exposure. You're part of the
Yep.
team. You go abroad. You
Yep.
compete.
Yep. So when Melinda was a member of the national team and you got her to her prime in 18 months, how many competitions internationally was she given in 18 months?
So we train just like we train commando style.
What do you mean by commando style? Like, can you
We train the
go to?
phone
Yep.
until there's a time that um, the Asian Championship was held here in the Philippines. So she got a chance to represent the country. So that's her exposure to be part of the national team.
So,
You know that?
okay, so how many times did she get sent abroad to compete um, when you were coaching her? Like in 1 year, how many times was she sent to international meets?
Time. 2 times.
Okay. So when you started with Melinda, what was her best time before she ran the 147? When you started with her, like what was her first sort of performance when she did the walks?
2 hours 23.
Okay, so meaning to say, in a year and a half, she improved by about 23 plus 30. So she improved
Minutes.
36 seconds, 36 minutes.
Yeah,
Would it be 36 minutes in 18 months?
yeah. And her 10-kilometer time when
Yep.
we when we compete in Singapore, 10-kilometer road was 51 minutes.
Yep. So,
And
okay. Yep.
and her marathon time, marathon, 42 kilometers, 3 hours 1 during
I
the
think
Manila Marathon.
she did marathons as well.
Yeah, she did road racing and race walking.
So nearly under 3 hours. So 3 hours 01.
3:01, 3 hours and 1 minute. That's a Manila Marathon won by
So where did she finish? What placing did
Alan
she
Perez.
get at the Manila Marathon with that?
Pardon?
Uh, what what position did she finish in the Milo Marathon?
Manila, not Milo, Manila.
A Manila Marathon. What did she win it or did she get second or third in that?
Second over Christabel.
Second behind Christopher. Okay, but that's not bad considering
No, 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 no.
primarily she's a race walker.
She's a champion. She's a champion during that time.
Okay, so she's a race walker, but she had the endurance to be able to run just almost 3 hours flat for the marathon. Okay.
So we always join road racing and training for race walking.
Yep.
And then
So
we went to World Championship. You know that?
yep, for
We went
walks,
to that's
world
for
race
her
walking.
exhibition for
Which
20K.
country was that held in, Coach?
Pardon?
Which country was the World Race Walking Championships held in?
In Turin, Italy.
What year was that?
2000?
So who paid for that trip? Was that paid for by the PSC, or who exactly
No,
paid?
we solicit from private individual and the rest from the AFP, from the armed forces.
Oh, okay. So the AFP covered it because wasn't Melinda was in the army or the navy? Army, right?
Navy.
Navy. Yeah. Okay. All right. So okay. So what's sorry? Just as reference, what's currently the best time of Alana? Alana hasn't run a 20 kilometer. Hasn't done a 20,000 meter race walk yet. Right. I was talking to her earlier.
She has
I showed her the results. She hasn't done a
only
20,000
10K,
race. Only
10,000.
10,000. What does she run? What's she done for the 10,000? Like 1 hour flat or something to that extent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So 1 hour for the 10,000 race walk. Is that like 2 hours flat for the 20,000 race walk, or a little bit slower, or around?
Maybe 2 hours and 10, something like that. 2 hours 10 or 2 hours
Yeah,
5, something
yeah.
like that.
The interesting thing with Alana was like when she won that race, when she was like the surprise winner at the New Clark, when she was able to beat those older athletes at during
It's
the relay.
supposed
The,
to
the,
be part of the SEA Games. It
yes,
should be there.
the interesting thing is that I mean the junior record was 59:21, so that was within reach. You know, she was only 40 is it minutes or maybe minutes or yeah, only 40 minutes away from the or is it seconds? I'm not sure. The junior record's 59:21, I think, for 59 minutes 21 seconds. So she was 1 hour.
1 minute.
Yeah, she was one.
1 minute.
Yeah, it's about a minute or 40. It might even be 40 seconds
Get
because
off.
let's
Yeah.
quickly do the math. So 59 minutes and 21 seconds. So 1 hour. Yes, about 39 seconds. 39 seconds away from the junior record in the uh, in the 10K. But unfortunately, we're running out of time as a junior. But you know, like within reach of breaking that junior record, like only 40 seconds away from breaking the junior record, which is
That's a problem here in our system in the Philippines.
mm. You know, Alana's not the only athlete who's unfortunate, you know, to be so close to breaking a junior record, but then they just don't get set. They just don't get the chance to do it because there's not enough competitions or not enough high, you know, performance type competitions available for the athlete. I mean, there's been quite a lot of issues with athletes who weren't sent to the World Youth or the World Juniors or to the Asian Juniors or the Asian Youths or whatever. You know, these international age grade meets where which we can really use to, you know, level up the athletes by sending the right ones. I mean, I've looked back at the history of athletes who were sent at some of these meets, and sometimes, you know, some athletes were just not really good, not really any good, but they have the money, end up going to some of these meets. I mean, because I was going through the Asian juniors the other day, and I saw some athletes who were coming almost last in the events, but it's just that they had money that they could afford to go, which was in itself a bit of a travesty when it comes to, selection methodology, sending athletes to, international meets. Anyhow, I'll just move on to this next slide. So these are the race. I'm not sure if you can see that. Is the font a bit small, or is it? I'll just see if I can enlarge that one. I'll just enlarge it a bit. Sorry, just a moment. Yeah, I just got to enlarge that screen. So that's the results of the men from this morning for the Vietnamese trials. So obviously, I don't know that much about race walking, but when you get down to about the 5th or the 6th place in the men, it's the same as the quality of women in Vietnam. So yeah, 1:32 is the top time from the men. So how do these times? Do you recall what is the Philippine national record in the men at the moment for the 20,000 meter run?
It's 1 hour 30, 1 hour 30, 32.
All right, so the best time in Vietnam at the moment is comparable to the Philippine national record. Is that the Widow, or who holds that?
Pardon?
Who holds the Philippine record in the 20K? Is it Mboedo or someone else?
He's my athlete.
Yeah, I know. I recall Michael. Yeah. So, are we in the walks? Are we closer in the women or in the men in terms of having someone that we can call a SEA Games contender for a medal? Are we closer in the men or in the women at this point?
Because during that time, when we and Michael were training together,
Yep.
I am still active during that time. So we are very, very, motivated to train. We want to surpass our best, even that they are not allowed to be part of the national team.
What do you mean
You know,
by he wasn't allowed to be? Michael wasn't allowed to be a member of the national team.
you know that during your time then
Yeah.
that you're
Yep.
part of the national team during that time.
Well, I wouldn't say I was in the national team. I was sort of like a developmental type athlete or a training pool. But yeah, I recall like
Part of
what are we
the
called?
pool. We're not
Yeah.
part of the national team.
Yeah, there wasn't like when were you actually a national coach? What years were you with the association as a national coach?
I serve as volunteer for Melinda.
So you were never on the payroll?
Pardon?
So you never received any allowance from PSC the whole time that you worked with
I
a
am,
national athlete? Not a cent?
and until that Melinda was officially in
When was she officially in? That was like 2000 and that was
2000,
before 2005,
2004.
2004.
No. During Vietnam SEA Games.
2003 that was. The Vietnam hosted the SEA Games in 2003 in Hanoi.
So after that, during that time, I'm still a volunteer coach.
So how many years were you actually a non-volunteer coach with the national team?
So when they finally put Melinda in the national roster because Melinda won bronze medal in the SEA Games. Melinda was not part of the national team.
I remember Melinda, got a bronze medal in the 2003 SEA Games. Then
That's why.
remember I was there when she had the accident on the bad piece of track at the ultra leading up to the 2005 SEA Games.
That's for preparation for the SEA Games, Manila SEA Games. But during that time, Melinda was not part of the national team with allowance until she won the bronze medal in the SEA Games.
So just self-support up until the 2003 SEA Games, and then received allowance after they won the bronze medal. Yeah, I mean that's odd, isn't it? I mean some athletes, like they have to win a medal first before they will even get any support, and then some athletes get
Yes.
support straight away before they even win, and then they don't get any medal at the SEA Games. I've seen that, I've seen that over the years. I've seen that a lot. Athletes basically getting an allowance and then not winning anything at the SEA Games. Or in some extreme cases, an athlete getting support and not winning a medal for 2 or 3 SEA Games. I've seen that as well. Or not even qualifying for the SEA Games. Just being in the team for 4 years and just not even being of the standard to qualify for the SEA Games. I've seen that as well. So, but at the same time, just getting all that money from the PSC. It's like, even for example, like somebody like EJ had to really, before they even could get into the allowance or even get into the team, basically they had to do quite a lot more to actually qualify into the team than other athletes. There were some athletes who basically had it way easier than other athletes to get into that team. And it's not really always that transparent. Okay, so I guess what are the plans for race walking at this point? I mean, because like with the COVID and all, as you said, you're only able to train out at Capitolio and those that obviously no tracks available at the moment.
You know that
Yeah, go on. Hello? Yep. Hello? Okay, maybe signal. Okay, I'll quickly just do some shout outs to the people who are watching or who have liked this video. Well, okay. So yeah, there's been quite a few people on the video tonight. Okay, so the following people have been watching and liked the video: Manelio Velasco, Alex Canetti, Kelvin Kalia, Annalyn Johari, Rusion Irin Norupa, Clark Ankor, Elafad Moxon, Manny Bayog, Jason McDermott, Joanny Aparo, Nori Badilio, Jen Bahinton, Alan Villaneva, Generita HK, Zijing Lee, Murjin Amala, Isel Villafort, Pat Natsumi, and Ilana Halaguna, and someone else. I think we may have lost communication with Coach Titus. Yeah, so Marilyn Talera is just like the. So yeah, we had about 20, 30 people tune in tonight. Now, I'm just going to wrap up what we're discussing tonight with. It's nearly been an hour. I was only hoping to go for half an hour, but anyway. Okay, yeah. So these coming soon. Obviously, we've been swamped with the Vietnamese nationals at the moment, so that's I've got a lot of other things on at the moment. I've got to I'm actually going to renew my Philippine passport tomorrow at the embassy, which I've been holding off because it's been expired for about a year and a half. Well, it's not something I really rush to do now because I don't really need my Philippine passport that much as an athlete like I did before. So I've just sort of just put it on the to-do list, but now I'm finally getting around to going and getting my Filipino passport renewed. The best or the main good thing about the Filipino passport is that I don't actually have to worry about when I actually visit the Philippines about queuing up in the long line. I just go into the quick line if I've got my Filipino passport, get it stamped, have an almost unlimited stay. I was planning to go back to the Philippines early next year, March, Feb, possibly April. Depends all really on the COVID. So yeah, the things I've got on the to-do list at the moment is updating more Vietnamese results. There's a lot of them. A comparison of Filipino sprinters from the 1960s and the men's 100 to today, and the top 10 of all times. Declining performances of 800-meter girls from the Polaroid UAP that we touched based on earlier, but we need to go into more extensively data. More articles based on training materials from notes based on stuff I covered in level 3, and updates on the athletes I'm training. Currently, I'm training 3 athletes from Africa, 10 from the Philippines, and 2 Philams from the US, so 15 in total via correspondence. More on that later. All right, so connect with us. Don't miss out. Visit our website, www.pinoyathletics.info. Follow us on Facebook, fb.com/pinoyathletics. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel, youtube.com/pinoyathletics, and connect with us for business purposes on LinkedIn at www.linkedin.com/pinoyathletics. All right. So that's all for tonight. It's been an hour recap, and these things are good because it mainly gives me time to reflect and to some extent vent. So all good. Thank you, and bless.